I thought I could handle some pain. No. No. I remember telling her one time, that doctor just killed me. Might as well. That's how bad this hurts. We need to reverse that dynamic, change that culture, and we need to have it to where in our industry, we are so good at what we do that you never hear of an accident. You know what I mean? And it's capable. We're capable of doing it. It's just a matter of doing it.
Hey, and welcome to the Electrical Safety Podcast. I'm your host, John Travis, and today I'm speaking with Zach Spicer. Zach, it's great to have you on the show.
Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for having me, Mr. John. Looking forward to this.
You know, you've definitely got a story to share, and we'll get to that in a minute. But just to kind of get the ball rolling, I wouldn't mind if you kind of even went back, as far as you'd like, just to kind of how you even got started in the electrical industry altogether, and what that was like, and then maybe we can kind of move into your story here after that. So
sounds good, sir. So I come out of the Marine Corps back in 2004. Honestly, didn't have an idea what I was going to do in the civilian world, and got very fortunate, blessed, lucky, whatever you want to call it. The local municipal over here in Middle Tennessee was hiring apprentices. Went in there, started my first day, and I walked in. Honestly, didn't even know what we did as the electric department, because I was like your average everyday consumer, right? That just the lights are on. You flip the switch, the light comes on, and we're good, right? We climb poles, we put rubber gloves on, we do all this stuff. And I'm like, that sounds cool. I can do that. How hard is it, right? It went through an apprenticeship, got on line crew, worked on line crew for several years. And 2016 area, 2012, 2013 area, went over to the substation department. And that's more finicky, more fine-tuned than your average everyday setting a pole, putting the wire on top kind of line work. But I believe my anal retentiveness from the Marine Corps helped me out. The small wires, the little bitty things, and thoroughly enjoyed it. Got into it and ended up taking over the sub department in 2016. And as I was setting up for teaching a class, I had de-energized and wrecked out a station, cut the wire loose. There's no transmission coming in. There's no power transformers. And when I went to show a fella the plunger vacuum bottle attachment, I ended up touching an energized part of that high voltage compartment. Ended up being about 3,800 amps first shot, 4,000 amps second shot. Run me to the hospital, life flight, all that. Originally told me they was going to take the arm off from the elbow down, take all the fingers off. And one of the worst feelings was I had my FR, I had my hard hat, but I didn't have my safety glasses on that day. Some reason. And I wear contacts. And when that doctor looked at me, told me, all right, Mr. Spicer, we're going to end up, when you wake up from this, you're probably going to be blind. That was a hard hit that, honestly, I had not considered. I had considered losing an arm and getting a hook or something like that, but I hadn't considered losing my eyes. So that whole process led me into the safety aspect of things. I train OSHA. I do CPR, flagging. I'm doing a I&I class next week. I do sort of safety speaking, I guess, telling my story, showing the pictures. But my main drive is my nonprofit organization that I've set up to help fellas and line folks when they get injured, there's a fatality, stuff like that. Of course, hence the reason why we have great folks like you out there doing the safety thing. That I'd rather prevent it from happening. You
Yeah.
know, I don't want to ever hear from folks, but if somebody ever does get in something, we're here to help, kind of thing.
Yeah. No, well, let's maybe let's circle back here and we'll kind of talk about all these things here today. But if you just go back to the day of the incident, you mentioned you were doing some training, and as I was listening to your story, I was asking the question, like, it sounded like it was supposed to be de-energized, or you thought it was, and did you ever go back and figure out kind of what happened there? Like, why was it still energized? What was the what was
Yes,
going
sir.
on?
I've heard you talk about it. Some of your guests talk about it, previous episodes and stuff. Um, as a what OSHA says, a qualified journeyman lineman, right? Qualified electrical worker. Uh, that means I know all the appropriate rules. I know everything from PPE to minimum approach, grounding, testing. I know all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the first class we had in this station, I had actually cut it loose, pinned it back. So the 15 kV side was de-energized. The transmission side, they had actually wrecked it out. We had no power transformers, no primary breaker. So it was completely safe. That way we allowed linemen to come in. And as a lineman, when you go to a substation, you're always told put your hands in your pockets.
Mm-hmm.
Don't touch anything, right? Because that's what we do. We're like herding cats. We're kindergartners. We like to touch, and what does this do?
Mm-hmm.
That was the whole purpose of that class, was to allow linemen to come in there and get a more comfortable feel of what's going on. Originally, the class in 2016 went off without a hitch, man. Guys got to look at things, do things. Well, I had been in that station probably 3 times between August of 2016 and August of 2017. That day I went in there, same thing. Fence is still up, lights are still on. I still had a 12240 service and a 130-volt battery bank. What had ended up happening is in April of 2017, we had an outage that we had a crew boom up, put the wire back together, and essentially they back fed into the station backwards through the breaker, through the 3 bus, across and out the other breaker.
Mm-hmm.
They used it like a giant load brake switch or a giant GOAB, right? A gang operated air brake or something. But they tied the circuits together. And then on that Saturday night, which I don't blame them by no means. I don't blame anybody for this other than myself. Nobody wants to put rubber gloves on. Nobody wants to let the legs down at 8 o'clock Saturday night when you just hit the button on the breaker, it opens, it breaks the circuit.
Mm-hmm.
We'll cut it loose Monday. And then Monday turned into Friday, April to August, never got cut loose. So when I walked in there, I did what I see a lot out there in this industry. Um, in fact, I talked to a guy from Texas yesterday who just literally got burnt. Uh, and the words that came out of his mouth reminded me of I was his age. I knew exactly what he did. He said, I got complacent. And that's what I find a lot. The guys, 30 to 40 years old, been in the business 10, 20 years. You get comfortable, you get complacent. You know what you're doing, right? We're trained, we're professionals, right? We're qualified workers. But the importance of all the safety rules and not cutting corners, we tend to push in the back of our minds because we've got away with it so many times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't. I didn't test. I didn't ground. I didn't use that job brief like the tool that it is.
Mm-hmm.
I just said, hey, you know, here's what we're doing today, kind of thing, no big deal. That's what caught up with me that day. Murphy's sitting there waiting on everybody. It's just a matter of if you open the door, let him in, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So after the fact, did they confirm, was it an arc flash and a shock, or just a shock, or just an arc flash, or do you know?
It was actually both. Um, Originally, when they told me they was going to take the arm and all these fingers, they thought that it went through my body and over there.
Yeah.
But what ended up happening is it went into that middle finger and sort of blew out down here. And honestly, I don't remember the flash, how bright it was. I don't remember how loud it was. The two things I remember is when I reached up there and made contact with that plunger, I remember screaming, "Oh God," for some reason. And I remember bowing up. Like in our industry, you get hit by 120, something like that, maybe 208, 240, it bites. And when you're working in buckets, aerial devices in the air, you might hit shoulder, elbow, something like that, and get bit. But I bowed up so bad, I seriously thought my brain was going to be like toothpaste and squirt out my ears. I remember
Mm-hmm.
bowing up so bad. And then something I have since learned going into the safety world, doing research and understanding what happened is the arc. Yeah, that 35,000 degrees is hot, right? Being 6 inches from my face.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of folks don't understand that arc blast, right? And I'm fairly sure of what I remember reading. A 480 volt arc blast will create about 500 psi, right? And you're talking about square inches. You're talking about stamps. That's a 500 pounds per stamp.
Mm-hmm.
And that will literally hit you, push your brain in the back of your head, deflate your lungs and all that. And it hit me, knocked me out cold. I was laying face first in the substation for about 30 seconds out.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I never considered before any of this and researching and understand what actually happened to me that day.
Yeah. So what happened right after that? Like, you were doing a class. Was there other people around?
Yes, there was. I had two fellas, two linemen out there with me. They were actually going to be my assistant instructors for the upcoming class that following week. My apprentice, Cody, was in the sub house. Uh, I could tell you, obviously, you hear what I sound like, right? Uh, my apprentice, Cody, the man has a master's degree and he worked for me, which makes no sense, right? Like I said, you see what you get here, right? Uh, but he wanted to get dirty. He wanted to get amongst it. So we went out and had a good time working hard. Cody come running out because he said the sun sort of appeared a couple times outside that sub house, and he said the blast wave physically rattled the windows, blew the dust off the windows. He come running out, looked over, saw me face first in the gravel, and his first thought was, "There's my boss. There's my buddy. He's dead." And something we don't do great about in our industry and construction industry as well is mental health. I'm not going to get on a soapbox about it, but we don't do a great job at it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he struggled with some things after that. Totally understand. And he's a big enough man to talk about it and a big enough man to get help and all that. But One thing I'd like to share with you, share with your listeners, your followers, and everything like that. That job brief for us, right, in the outdoor, overhead, underground electrical space, that job brief, that basic 5 things that OSHA says we have to have, right? The hazards, energy source, special procedures, work procedures, and PPE. That right there is more than a piece of paper. It's more than an app on a phone. That right there is so vital in an emergency situation because when that happened, Cody come running out, saw me. Training kicked in, grabbed his phone, 911. The problem is when I told Cody and all of them to meet me at that substation, I told them to meet me at Old White Bluff substation, which everybody at the electric department knows where Old White Bluff sub is.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine your career, you probably had spots, even maybe back in the day when you were a teenager running the roads and hanging out with buddies, you had cool little hangout spots. And everybody knew where they were.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is when 911 asks you the first question, which is what is the address of your emergency, that Old White Bluff sub ain't gonna count because they don't know where that is.
Mm-hmm.
He had to physically run outside through the sub, read it off the placard, and actually tell them that way. And in an emergency situation, time is of essence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I try to drive this home to folks a lot. That job brief is just as important of a tool as a bucket truck, as a wrench, as a screwdriver. That thing right there, if you utilize it properly, it can literally save your butt. And to write down your physical street number, physical street name, and address of where you're at, even though everybody knows where you're going, that needs to be down there.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, probably took 30 seconds for him to do that. Uh, by that time, I popped up. I woke up. Let's see. When I woke up, I ended up walking to the other side of the sub, looking around, really confused.
Mm-hmm.
One of the guys, he got the AED and a first aid kit, and he was booking it, man. I was like, well, he's in a hurry.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw Barry. He was the lineman that actually asked me a question about the contacts. And he was standing about 18, 24 inches off my shoulder. I would assume the safety fellas and all that follow you a lot, listen to your stuff, they understand the importance of distance when it comes to arcs. I honestly, doing line work, stuff like that, didn't really have much of a concept of it.
Mm-hmm.
From the burns I received to the burns Barry received, it was night and day because Barry had the luxury of having 18 to 24 inches of space between him and the arc. But when I saw him, the triangle of skin on his nose, skin on his lips were just like flaps hanging off. And I was like, this is bad.
Yeah.
And then it finally clicked. And I looked down. I was like, oh, okay. Something happened. I had my FR, but it was rolled up because it was hot. I was working de-energized. And all that skin was just sort of sloughed, sort of melted plastic, shredded t-shirt, kind of just hanging off and down kind of thing. And I was like, I know what I've done now. I know what I've done. It literally took a good solid probably 2-3 minutes for it to actually dawn on me that what happened.
I'm assuming you made it to the hospital. And
You said how many days?
yeah, how long did that process take?
Let's see. The burn ward up there at Vanderbilt. Burn ward at Vanderbilt. I think it was 3 days in the burn ICU, 22 days in the actual ward and all that good stuff. They had started out saying we'll cut the arm off, cut the fingers off. In about 3 or 4 days, they moved it. They said, we'll probably cut the hand off. 2 or 3 days, we'll probably cut the fingers off. That's that's the awesome thing about medical technology is you can YouTube. I don't know. I think it's brain surgery, something like that. There's legit a YouTube video of a guy. They're actually performing brain surgery on this fella, and he's sitting there playing the banjo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Awake, talking, all that. Medical technology is amazing, but when it comes to burns, electrocution, they really honestly don't know what happens, what occurs, what's going to end up leading to something else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's their thought process is we're going to carve, we're going to cut all the black, dark, dead stuff until we see good red blood, and then we'll stop. We'll give it a couple of days. Nothing else is dead, dark, anything like that. We'll start grafting. If it's dead dark, we keep cutting, and we just keep cutting. And that's medical technology when it comes to electrocution and burns. Endured the the hydro room. That right there is a process that nobody should ever have to endure. For all your followers, listeners, watchers, all that kind of stuff, all your fellows, if you've ever had the opportunity to go to a burn center, you will get an understanding of how bad life can be if you visit a burn center. And you can convey that to your folks as a safety fella. And I don't think people have an appreciation for it. Because honestly, I'm a walking accident. I'm just going to throw it out there. Last count I've got, I got 30 broken bones, right? I busted my left set of ribs 4 different times, 4 different occasions. Broke both arms twice. Like, I'm that guy, like, here, hold this, watch me, right? I'm that guy. I'm a doer, not a thinker. I thought I could handle some pain. No. No. I'm telling you, to have a grown man that I've been 9,000 miles away from here in sandbox, right? Doing my Marine Corps stuff. Wife, kids, car, farm, cows, all of that. Have a grown man literally squalling and screaming, begging them, just cut it off. Telling them. I remember telling her one time, that doctor, just kill me. Might as well. That's how bad this hurts. And to make a man do that, it's surprising. I don't typically have a loss for words a lot of times, but I have no words to describe that. That's how bad it is. Which, you've been around the business how long?
Oh, I've been almost 20 years, probably. Yeah.
These are stories we hear, right? This is stuff we hear all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It drives me crazy. It drives me crazy. I wanted to get on the other side of that coin, go from the guy that intentionally would rack up a truck or come down when a safety guy showed up. Even though I know I'm not really doing anything wrong, I'm doing my job safely and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But to get away from that mentality of the safety guy is not your enemy. He shouldn't be a safety cop. He should be a coach, really and honestly. He should be there to back you. He should be there on your side. And if you think about it, his whole job, he's there to make sure you go home every day safely.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He can help you with that, but it's totally on you to take ownership of the rules and policies and regulations and actually make them mean something. Because he's not going to be standing over your shoulder and be like, hey, extra piece of cover up. Hey, safety glasses. Hey, button that up. He can be there to help, but you've got to do your part and actually follow the rules, right? Actually do the things we want to do or know to do. That's why I talk about this. That's why I went to the safety world, is because I think we need a drastic change. This is legitimately something that we know how to prevent. We know, without a doubt, without a shadow in our minds. My brother and my son, my second son, both of them are indoor wiremen. My brother's been in it 15 years. He's a supervisor or superintendent, whatever you want to call him down there. My son's almost through his apprenticeship. They work in big switchgear, industrial stuff, work in a big manufacturing plant down here in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And we know from that level all the way up to the transmission generation level how to prevent these accidents and injuries. It's not like we need to invent a new rule. We don't have to invent a new tool. We know how to solve this. I personally think we're missing the mark. Instead of have the 10 most dangerous jobs out there. And last I saw, I think we were at number 9, maybe got bumped to number 11, something like that. But we need to reverse that dynamic, change that culture, and we need to have it to where in our industry, we are so good at what we do that you never hear of an accident.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's capable. We're capable of doing it. It's just a matter of doing it.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned earlier you got your nonprofit, and is that something that you're hoping to use to help, obviously change that and get the message out and get the word out, or is it? Yeah.
So the nonprofit, the world I come out of down here, little small town Tennessee, right? Folks don't understand what happens when you get hurt. The majority of folks out there make it through career. Maybe they twist an ankle, maybe they crunch a finger, or tweak their back or something, and they really out for a week or two. Nothing really major, right? A major accident, a major injury. There's a fella, I believe, in Pennsylvania we're trying to help out. They took his arm off, took his leg off. He also broke his neck. He's paralyzed, right? He's got 5 kids. That boy in Texas that I talked to yesterday, he's got a wife, starting a life together, right? Most people don't understand that workers' comp is only 2/3 of your base pay. Not all the overtime, not all the standby work, storm work. We make amazing money, make great money, make great friends, go places, see things, do things, man, great stories. And we live, I'd say the majority of us live a little bit beyond our means, right? Because we're used to having that money. Well, when you're laid in the hospital, making 2/3 of your pay, and your wife has burned up all her PTO, and she's hanging with you, The kids still got to get fed. Car notes, house note, grass still got to get mowed. All that stuff still happens. What we do with the nonprofit is we step in, we help out financially, right? Not all companies take care of their people the way I think they should take care of them, honestly, um, because you might be 3 or 4 hours away from a trauma one burn center and you're there, but your wife has to travel or your wife has to stay at a hotel. Not all companies take care of their people like that. Most places do, which is awesome because they go above and beyond,
Mhm.
but not everybody does. And it's all the things that my wife wished she would have had when I was in the hospital. All the little just snidbits of stuff, everything, just something as simple as a notebook and a pencil to write down what the doctors are saying, what the nurses are saying, and understand what's coming next. We walk them through the burn process. We walk them through wound care. We walk them through physical therapy, occupational therapy, right? We walk them through all this stuff because a lot of it is dealing with the unknown, dealing with the anxiety and the stress of
Mm.
what's going to happen now. Where's this leading us? Where's this taking us? Um, and then, honestly, I would like folks to understand that it doesn't matter that if you are the best employee that, you know, Spark Electric has, whatever, right? You're the best employee. You and the CEO are best buds. Y'all are fishing buds, hunting buds, whatever. You get hurt. You understand that you are no longer dealing with Spark Electric. You're dealing with the workers' comp insurance company. They are not known to freely hand out money, right?
Mhm.
Literally, there's documented cases of where an insurance company, when they go in and do an investigation, right? Because you put somebody in the hospital, you got 24 hours, notify OSHA, right? They do an investigation and they can prove that you willfully and knowingly broke rules. They're not going to pay for that. They're not.
Mhm.
It's like you getting in your car and driving drunk, right? Getting in a wreck. They're not going to pay for that. You know what you did. That can happen. It has happened. It almost happened to me because 3 days into my stay, that life flight ride I got cost $40,000, and I got a bill for it because they said that I knew I should have had rubber gloves on. I knew I should have had it rolled down. I knew I should have done all that, and I did. I knew that. What honestly saved me. Uh, by the time I left the hospital, that first time was about 865,000. I think it's well over 1.5 million now. Um, what saved me is my safety man. He went through that book, third party investigation, appealed the process, all this. And what they determined was the second that that station got energized on that weekend, that now we should have a written lockout tagout policy. Because beforehand, I have went to stations, lockout tagout steps, take the station down, oil samples, high potting, working on equipment, changing light arresters, whatever it is, and then energize the station. It went on, right? Followed the steps. That's what they ended up hanging it on that root cause analysis. That's why it's so vitally important for safety folks out there. Take as much classes, take as many courses as you can, especially when it comes to accident investigation, root cause analysis, because that kind of stuff can actually help you dig down and get to the very bottom of a problem. People like have a knee jerk reaction, just like for me, you got burnt. Where? On the hands and the arm, rubber gloves. There it
Mhm.
is, right? Yeah, yeah. But why was it the way it was?
Mm-hmm.
Why did that happen the way it happened? That's something right there that people don't understand. So our nonprofit, we help folks out, no matter where, U.S., Canada. Dude, I don't care. I don't
Mm-hmm.
care if you're a contractor. I don't care if you're a co-op, municipal, IOU, union, non-union, line work, electrical guys, sub guys, meter guys. You're in this umbrella. We're here to help because
Yeah.
we know what it's like, and it's a tough road to hoe.
How do
And
people how do people reach out, or how people find you?
typically, what we've got, and I, I don't know if I've sent it over or not, but I'll get it to you. Uh, we've got a website out there, linebrotherskeeper.org, right?
Mm-hmm.
Website, of course, we're on Facebook, Instagram. I hate to say it because I'm old and I'm not cool by no means. I'm boomer, whatever you want to call it. But I'm started a TikTok because that's the way of the world now.
Yeah.
And so I'm on all the social media platforms, all that kind of stuff. Because the way I see it, that's more feelers I got out there to be
Yeah.
able to get data brought into me so I can help folks. We typically, of course, take donations, right? Uh, but I sell things. I make wooden stuff, uh, wooden climbing belts, climbing hooks, wrenches, pliers, knives. Uh, had a guy request a shotgun, full size shotgun out of
Hmm.
wood, and before I could answer, my wife said I could do it, so I did it. I don't know how, but I did it thus far.
Yeah.
So I'll do anything I can. Plaques, hard hat plaques for people retiring, stuff like that. So that's how we raise money. That's where our request assistance is. So if anybody's hurt, they can click on that, send us a little form. We get a hold of you, care package, financial support sent out, and then that one-on-one conversation starts to take place.
Hmm. All right. Well, we'll make sure we we link to all those on the show notes for you. And yeah, Zach, this was I'll tell you, this will probably be one of the best episodes we ever had. You did a great job telling your story. I think it's going to hit home for a lot of people. And yeah, I just want to thank you for doing what you do. And thanks for coming on the show.
But thank you for this opportunity. Looking forward. Love what you do, man. Love what you put out there. Got to keep fighting that good fight, I guess, and all that kind of stuff.
We'll get that figured out. No problem.
I thank you very much for your time today, Mr. John. Appreciate you letting me do this, and
Thank you.
stay safe out there.